wasn't expecting to see you again. You know, alive. It would take both my hands to count the number of times a medical professional has said that or something like it to my mother over the past 6-ish years. She went from having what was considered a very rare chronic lung condition to what was, about a year ago, determined to be a very rare terminal lung condition. The difference between chronic and terminal being significant. Chronic refers to a condition that someone will likely be dealing with for the rest of their life. Terminal, in my mom's case, was the phone call that said, "We've exhausted our options. There's nothing else we can do. It's probably a matter of months." There's a big paradox to prognosis. On the one hand, being given a proposed expiration date on a human life is incredibly psychologically distressing for both the patient and their loved ones. At the same time, in a way, it is a privilege to have a warning and to have time to process, time to prepare, and time to cherish. After receiving this news, my mom loved to go around and tell everyone she was terminal. My favorite was when we would be out shopping and the sales clerk would try to sell her on a sweater, and she'd say, "Oh, no, I'm terminal. I won't be around long enough to wear sweaters again." You can just imagine the looks on the salespeople's faces. Some handled it better than others. But the irony is that we are all terminal. No matter how cute, charming, or rich, no one makes it out of this life alive. But the fact that we're going to die one day doesn't have to feel morbid or scary or even sad. Rather, we can make peace with this fact as a way to optimize the time that we do have on this planet before a disease tells us that it's limited, because it's already limited. So I've come up with 3 simple tenets to being terminal, which we all are, as a way to put life into perspective. Tenet number 1, life is just too short to be afraid. Think of something you have always wanted to do but haven't yet, because maybe you feel self-conscious about how you'll look or nervous about how it might make you feel. Well, try to remind yourself that one day you're going to die. And how you looked and how you felt doing that thing isn't going to matter. We often let fear hold us back in even silly ways. We may stop ourselves, for example, from something as simple as giving a compliment because we're afraid of being awkward. But I say, take the risk, because neither of you will be around forever. Now, I do encourage exercising some caution with tenet number 1, because it is awfully tempting to use "life is short" as an excuse to do something against our better judgment. I've been known to cite this one as justification to indulge in 1 or 2 or 17 more cookies than I probably ought to. But it is wise to be discerning, because a temporary high doesn't usually contribute to our long-term satisfaction. Which brings us to tenet number 2. Life is too long to be careless. Yes, one day we are all going to perish. But in the meantime, we've got big things to do. It can feel easy to go through the motions day in and day out, ignoring the potential to even try to live as the fullest expressions of ourselves. But staying confined to what's comfortable usually means we're not investing in our future self. And to have a future self is an honor. For as long as your heart is beating, it is for a very particular purpose that only you can fulfill. And it is up to each of us to figure that out of respect for the blessing of time, which not everyone gets. So we can use life's brevity to remind us to not take things quite so seriously, and life's longevity to remind us to take it seriously enough that we don't unconsciously settle for the status quo. Now, all of this may sound like a pretty tall order, which brings us to tenet number 3. Life is far too messy to be perfect. There are going to be times when we are somehow careless and afraid, and that's okay. Perhaps the most challenging byproduct of a terminal diagnosis is this intense feeling of pressure. The clock never stops ticking, and there's this weight to make every single moment absolutely perfect. But that is simply not sustainable. And I've come to learn we can actually appreciate the juicy moments, the fights, the mishaps, the misunderstandings, because those remind us that we are alive and that we're human. And once we release the pressure of perfection, we give ourselves some breathing room to savor what is. So we can use this to give one another and ourselves permission to make mistakes, to have bad days, and to be gorgeously complicated, messy creatures. The unintentional combination of these 3 tenets has personally endowed me with the most liberating, what the heck, why not, attitude towards life that has led me to some of my greatest joys. In the past year, I have organically and spontaneously started a YouTube channel for spoken word poetry, which I had never written before. And now, every week, I go Latin dancing, despite my very obvious and embarrassing lack of rhythm. And it is this mentality that is giving me the courage to be on this stage. Because even though I got a stomachache literally every time I worked on this talk, no matter how nervous I feel, I'm gonna die one day. And it won't be from this. And it would feel pretty careless of me to not do something with these lessons that I'm learning. And if I make a few mistakes, well, that's to be expected because I'm not perfect. So now, when I look back on the past year, I see poetry and dancing and lots of time with my family and a healthy amount of my mom's cookies. And now a TED Talk. I don't even know how to express how excited I am to share that my mom did indeed get to wear sweaters again. And she is, in fact, in the audience right now. Making the most of her short, long, messy life. In her honor, here's a poem that I wrote shortly after her diagnosis. Whole heart. Today I have a whole heart. One day, I'll have a hole in my heart. If you say goodbye, I won't have a whole heart. You represent an irreplaceable part of who I am. How can I stand without you holding my hand? Today, you are holding my hand. Today, you're my #1 fan. Today, I have a whole heart. One day, I won't have a whole heart. Grieving that now, I should not start. Mourning the future is not very smart. The piece of wisdom I want to impart is that now we are together. Now things can get better. Now there's still time for laughing and walking and shopping and talking. Tomorrow has a life of its own. Tomorrow will bring the unknown, but tomorrow has still yet to start. So I vow to love fully, laugh loudly, hug tightly, live proudly now, because today I have a whole heart.